Hello guys, I hope you're doing good and alright. Today I want to talk about something I am very excited to talk about really and to explain to you. And I want to title it The Gift of Dyslexia, or A Gift of Dyslexia is Hard Work. And I'm using that to kind of tell a story. Tell a story that what happened to me like yesterday really. And because I'd done something yesterday I'll talk about, and I'm really excited about it. And I couldn't sleep at all because at least I can't remember sleeping. I remember just laying in bed thinking, why can't I sleep? I think I'm so excited about this thing that's happening in the future that I signed on for yesterday. So guys, I hope you're looking forward to that, and kind of like talking about one little quote that's been in my mind that I wanted to explain in the podcast, but I'm doing this little intro, but I'll go in deeper in the podcast. That there's this, I want to say quote, but it's this saying that people said about a person called Tony Robbins. Now, if you know me, Tony Robbins really has positively impacted my life in a massive way. The reason why I'm doing these podcasts right now. But one thing he said when he got asked about self-esteem, about how to build self-esteem and all that. And I know I've talked about a lot, and it's about belief in ourselves, but really self-esteem comes from, self-respect, and self-respect comes from like earning it, comes from working on ourselves and feeling respect for ourselves because we earned it, because we worked hard and we know we deserve it through the self-development we had, through working on ourselves, through feeling proud of what we accomplished. And that does come through hard work. That does come through like challenge and struggle. So anyway, guys, we'll get through that and realize like why dyslexia can actually be a gift, because it makes you work harder. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoy today's episode.
So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about dyslexia being a gift, because it makes you work harder. It makes you work for something. And now I know that so many people will be thinking like, oh no, one of the reasons why dyslexia is not a gift, or why is this negative, is because it makes us work harder, because it makes us, put in more hours, it makes us, slower, it makes us not be able to do certain things, make people treat us a certain way, and so on and so forth. And you can say that. And if you look at it from a certain angle, you can be right in that, looking from the belief that the easier life is the better life, looking from the belief that saying, I want things to be just as easy for me as it is for everyone else. And why should it take me like 3 or 4 tries, or take me 3 and 4 times longer to study for a test and get the same result as someone else and be treated the same? And that's one way of looking at it. But I want to introduce to you another way of looking at it. And it's another way of looking at it and thinking, if you do study 3 or 4 times or more, if you do take the test 3 or 4 times and fail it and only pass it on the 5th time, but yet other people who study just as much as you pass it on the 1st time, people respect what they put in. People people only appreciate what they deserve. People only appreciate what they had to work for. If someone's are born into wealth and can get a nice car, nice house, don't worry about finances, a lot of those people grow up sad and lonely, looking for people to validate them and not really appreciating what they have. But someone who's worked all the time and just be able to afford like a cheap little car, they feel so proud of their car. They afford a suit, they feel so proud of their suit. Get a job they worked really hard for, so proud of it. And it's only once we put effort into something and we achieve something because of the own effort we put into it, we feel proud of it, and then vice versa, feeling proud of ourselves. And how I want to tie this in is that yesterday yesterday I was basically one of my goals, not a little goal, it's a really big goal in the next like 2 years or so, is being trained in a dyslexic training that will allow me to work one-to-one with dyslexics on a small group setting or so on and so forth. And being completely honest here, it's me just chatting to you. I know one thing that I'm really interested in is called the Davis method, the Davis approach. He got this book called The Gift of Dyslexia, the first dyslexia book I ever read, and the way they view dyslexia is so amazing. And this person Davis created it, and there's a whole theory, a whole system around it. And one of the reasons why I haven't done this in the past, well, the Davis method, I looked before in the past, and with the like time commitments and all. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is like one thing that I really love about the Davis method, compared to other methods that are more OG approach, Autumn Gillingham approach, or the Barton method, and all these other ones, is that they're all amazing. But what doesn't motivate me to teach other people is to only look at it in a small facet of reading and writing, because there's so much more in the world, and I feel like a lot of say the methods like Autumn Gillingham or Barton, all these other methods are really structured around reading and writing. And yes, that is incredibly important and it's a massive need out there to fill. But in my opinion, I feel like you could fulfill that need better and more holistically, going through different approaches. You may use the same science, you may use the same strategy, but just without taking a science-centered approach. Obviously take the approach, but without that being your main focus. Your main focus would be on other things, like their confidence, their beliefs, their mentality, and more of their understanding of what it is to be dyslexic. And obviously working with techniques, but helping them help themselves in a sense. And I know I haven't completed the courses, so I can't say from really experience. I only can say from experience of being taught it from all my education from being dyslexic and all the years of research I've done into it, but I haven't completed it. So it's limited. But basically, one of my goals has been a little goal for a while now, and I remember looking at it, and I signed up for basically one of the first steps. Now it's a big first step. It does cost quite a bit of money, and it's a big for me to do. But one thing I know about myself with when signing up to these things, I spent money in the past on personal development, of going to these courses, and I'm really investing myself in the past a lot. And I've basically done that today with this. But one of my approaches when it comes to this is that if I know it's in line with my values, I know my values. And one thing that this instills in me is that I've been in Thailand for the past year. I've had the time of my life. I'm not joking, it's been amazing. But yeah, I could still, hand on my heart, say the only thing I want to do is help people with dyslexia. Hand on my heart. You know what I mean? I can have all these other jobs, or all these other things, or all these other opportunities. If it doesn't circulate to the goal of me helping people with dyslexia, I'm like, what's the point? Hand on my heart, you know what I mean? That's such a genuine thing I can feel. So there is, and I'm in this game not for the short term. Like, I want to learn two sides of it. I want to learn how can I help dyslexic people the best possible way, because I've realised how to help myself, and I realised the education system, the traditional dyslexia education system, is lacking in a massive part. How to help other people with dyslexia, and how you do that maximally is you help them with dyslexia, so reading and writing, but you give them what they need. Give them what they want, reading and writing, give them what they need, is actually believing in themselves. Actually realising they can conquer anything, realise they have everything inside themselves, and that don't have to let dyslexia stop them at all. But I want to learn to do it to help as many people as possible, and I believe there's two aspects you have to learn. And honestly, in the past year or so, I've been learning a business side of things. I have been learning dyslexia through books, through talking to people, through doing all these podcasts. But one thing I've learned a lot is through learn loads about dyslexia, but I want to invest more into that. But another thing I've been learning is business. It's learning, I say business, it's not like employing, managing teams. It's learning how to, what's out there so I can market it, so I could sell. Not in a set way that I want your money, but in a way that I could do this without having a side job. In a way that I want a business that can help as many people as possible with dyslexia and be profitable and grow. So that makes sense. It's not out there for personal reasons. If I want to just make money, dyslexia is not the industry to be in. Because, anyway. So the point of this, what I'm talking about here, is a couple of things. So I signed up for this course. I knew about it and I paid money for it now. In a couple of weeks' time, it starts, and it's 5 days, and it starts from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. and I work currently till like 6 p.m. And I have to figure out how that works. But my point here is, like, one thing I know personally for me, when I know something's in line with my values, because I know what I want long term, or I know what's best for me. Like, I know, like, okay, a couple years or a decade or 2 decades down the line, will this be a negative or positive? A negative or positive for me? If it's a positive, do it. If it's going to be a negative, don't do it. A lot of people think about the short term, the short this, the short that, and the reasons why they held back. And I was a little bit intelligent. I was like, okay, and there's no sense I was going to do it, but then I'm not going to pay for it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to chat to people, and I did it anyway. Before like the end of the day, might consider the day that I was going to come back from like the calf. So anyway, I got that, and I now have to figure things out. But my point is, I already invested in it, and I'm aware. I'm very, very excited about it. I know I'm a bit strapped for time here doing this podcast because I have to go to work and everything. But my point of doing this podcast is this. Sometimes things get hard. And sometimes, especially when you have something called dyslexia, things aren't easy. Things are massively challenging. But guess what? If you face the challenge, and the more we go through in life, the more we feel better about ourselves. And this is a very broad statement that can be taken wrong in so many different ways. But the more challenge we go through, the more like, okay, this is a challenge, I'm going to work to overcome it. And yes, there'll be bad days. Yes, it's going to be tiring. Yes, it's going to be hard. But I'm going to hold my head up, and I'm going to be resilient, because I don't have a choice. I have two choices. One, let my dyslexia use me, or two, use my dyslexia. I choose to use my dyslexia. I chose to not let it stop me. And doing that, I have to grow. Doing that, I have to work hard. Doing that, I have to improve myself. But guess what? At the end of this journey, it's never going to be an end. But guess what? In a couple of years from now, a couple of weeks from now, a couple of months from now, after I worked myself so more, and accomplished certain things that I needed to accomplish, I feel better about myself than I was. I believe more in myself. I have more self-esteem than I had in the past. And it's all about facing the challenge head on. And how do we face the challenge? It's very, very simple keys. It's not about seeing what's out there and saying, okay, I guess this is what I have and this is where I should head. No, it's not about that. It's about being certain. It's about taking charge of our life, like what I say, about taking responsibility. Okay, we must take responsibility of ourselves, of our own life. And how we do that is this. We realize what we want. We realize that no one else is in charge of our lives apart from ourselves. We have the ultimate result. Like, my reading and writing ability is all down to myself. My position in the job, where I am in the world, where I am my happiness, where I am with my fulfillment, where I am my success. Guess who's that down to? It's not my dyslexia, it's me. It's always down to me. It's down to my standards. It's down to my experience. And you've got to play that game with yourself. That game that everything's down to me. Everything's down to me. And I've got to work on myself. The more I invest in myself, the better my life is going to turn out. And that's it, is taking selfish actions like that and treat everything like a lesson. Everything like a lesson and moving forward. So guys, I didn't want to make a big one or a big complex one here, but I desperately wanted to make it. So basically, the thing I invested in, Davis method, is an incredible method I talked about a lot. And I kind of know the overview of the subjects they talk about. Read the book, spoke to people, listened to stuff, but I don't know it in depth because I haven't rehearsed it or done the reps to do it again and again and again and again when it's in my bloodstream. That's a saying or metaphor I use. So I don't know it in my experience. I know it kind of intellectually and hearsay. So this one is about the gift of dyslexia. They can talk about a lot of things. I think it can cover a lot about the book and about the Davis method. But I'll be sure it will start on the 28th, the 28th of this month, the 4th of next month. And I'm sure every day I'll do a podcast about it and I'll update you about what I'm learning. But I want to educate myself so I can help more and more people. And so this is what I'm excited. And guys, if you know what you want, that some advice, I'd say double down on that. But this is a dyslexia podcast. This isn't a podcast about other things. But I want to share my experience about how, because I want to be an example of how you can conquer your dyslexia. Because there's so many things I've done, you know what I mean, to help me conquer mine or to not let my dyslexia stop me. But at the end of the day, I'm doing this for you. At the end of the day, you know what I mean, I'm using myself as I could use you as an excuse, like use you as in the people out there as an excuse for me to improve myself, or vice versa. I could use improving myself as an excuse to help you, if that makes sense. I think so. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions about anything. Obviously, you want to learn about this reading method that dramatically improved. Now, you might be saying, Theo, you have this reading method, and why are you trying another reading method? Because the reading method that transformed my life isn't a 2-year training. It's a one little thing that I truly believe will change the dyslexia industry. I'm still working on that, still doing things on that. So please talk to me about that if you want to. Anyway, guys, I hope you had enjoyed today's podcast and have a nice